actually want to start running and have no idea where to begin, if that's your situation, then this is for you. I have had numerous people asking me the last few months what to do if they want to start running. And I have found that I've just hesitated in answering that question because there are so many things, yet there are so few things that I need to say. So I thought with the help of my coach, I would give you some tips on where to begin if you're wanting to start running. So if you're a newbie and the thought maybe slightly appeals to you, slightly makes you sick to your stomach of running, then maybe that's something that you can explore, especially during this time when everybody's isolated and we're at home, most of us, and looking for new things to do or ways to keep sane with our children around. If you can relate to that, I sure can. And running is one of those things that right now we are still able to do. So we're still able to be out. I'm part of a running group, and I guess we've isolated ourselves from one another, so we're running solo mostly, which I really miss. But running is one of those great things that spring is beginning, we're isolated, you're going to need some movement. It's this exceptional time right now to start caring for yourself and taking care of your body and being on top of your health. And running is one of those things that you can start implementing into your life that will help you harness your health and help you feeling slightly empowered in your life and just allow you to feel better about yourself. So before I dive into my ideas and suggestions, I'll just give you a little bit of a summary on what my running history is. And really, in the grand scheme of things, I am a new runner. I've been running consistently for just around 2 years now, I guess. It doesn't seem that long, but it also seems like a really long time. So about 2 years ago, I started running. Now, I should preface this by saying that before I really started running consistently, I did have a background in fitness. So I didn't start from nothing, but at the same time, I didn't start from a significant history in like track and field or cross country or being an elite athlete at any point in my life. I've always kind of been active. I've always been on different sports teams in high school, basketball, volleyball, badminton. I love baseball, so that type of thing. So I was always somewhat active, probably until I started dating my ex-husband, and around that time, I was about 19. I kind of fell off a little bit, and I fell into a rut, and I became quite lazy, I would probably say. Yep. I became quite lazy. He would always want to go out and do activities, and I just kind of didn't feel like doing much. And I'm going to say until my second baby was born in 2011, I was feeling a little bit lost in motherhood. Holy crap, does that really flip you on your head? And when my baby was 2 weeks old, I needed to find something to fill me again, something that I enjoyed, something that was for me, something that felt selfish and that could just be on my time, my terms. So I started weightlifting, and oh gosh, I fell in love with it. I would weightlift early in the morning in my home gym. We started creating home gym. And that was my time for me, my time to start building my sense of self-worth, and my time to really start feeling empowered in my life. And like I had control over something, because with a brand new baby and a toddler, there's very little that I felt in control of. So I started weightlifting, and that year was a really great year for me. I really built myself up. I was super active. I did a 5-kilometer obstacle race. I did the Tough Mudder. I did the Spartan Super. I believe that year I also did the Spartan Ultra, which are longer distance obstacle course races. I did a half marathon, even though I wasn't really training. And then when my son was 18 months old, I competed in a fitness competition. So I stood on stage in front of 300 people in this teeny tiny bikini and showed off all the work that I had put in. And I put in so much work. I was really dedicated and passionate about the whole process. I had a coach, blah, 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 story goes on. Anyways, I'm going off way on a tangent. So anyways, I ended up having another baby and got lost a little bit again in my eating habits and in my fitness habits. Life became a lot with 3 babies. It was good, but it was a lot. Shortly after there, I'm going to say, my marriage started falling apart bit by bit, splitting at seams that were already there. Yeah, let's not get into that too much, but it hit me really, really hard, and upon finding out that my husband at the time kind of wanted out of the marriage, wow, that just ripped the rug out from under my life as I knew it, and it was this big, big shock and devastation. And anyways, during that time, I really, really needed something for me. I had no idea how to cope with anything. And so I got a little bit back into weightlifting, but I also started running a little bit. I found that there was this one big hill not too far away from my home that I would drive to, and I would run toward the hill and then go down. And then I had the task of climbing up this big hill and going up and over. It was only about a 5-kilometer distance in total. The hill was approximately halfway through. But I started to find that this hill never got easier, but mentally I got stronger. And it was such a metaphor for life for me at that time, feeling that struggle going up and knowing at the top there's so much beauty there. It's just a matter of pushing and getting there. And it was always this beautiful, ridiculous metaphor for my life. I was doing it by myself. I was working really hard. I knew I could do it. And I knew it was on the other side, just a breath. I could take a breath. So running was what got me through that really hard time. It didn't get me through, but it provided me a coping mechanism for that really hard time. And even before that, my first experience with running, other than like elementary school, I'll say, I was on the cross-country team in elementary school, if that counts. Not really. But my mom passed away in 2004. And again, I needed something to cope with that ridiculous amount of grief that I was experiencing. So I ran. I went to this path and I ran. I think I ran 30 seconds before I thought I was going to die. And then I would walk and I would feel this overwhelming sense of grief building up, and then I'd run, and then I couldn't breathe, so I had to walk. And anyways, it was a ridiculous mess. And then a year after she passed away, I signed up for a race because I thought, what a great way to honor her life is to run a race. Not understanding distance, not understanding training. I just entered and ran. It was a half marathon ultra, it was called, which, heaven forbid, I just do like a 5-kilometer race. So it's a 25-kilometer race. I call it race loosely because it wasn't a race for me, it was survival out there. And I ended the race walking in with I think he was 80 or 85-year-old man. It was just horrific. I felt terrible. I threw up after. Anyways. So my experience with running was quite minimal, and it was very sporadic, and it was mostly in an effort to deal with life, big life things. So I was not by any means a consistent runner. I was a sometimes runner who didn't really take it seriously, and I didn't know how. I would just go run. It was just totally fine. And then that's it. I would do it in the spring and the summer when things got tough, but then other times I would just let it slide. So about 2 years ago, I had just moved into my own home after my marriage completely dissolved. And then I met my running coach, and he was an experienced runner. He had been running for many years, and he had been to the Boston Marathon a few times. So meeting him kind of sparked in me this idea that I could get somewhere with running, not like professionally or anything like that. I knew I wasn't, it's kind of beyond that. But the idea that I met a person who went to the Boston Marathon and he was just a normal human being. He wasn't anything special. I mean, of course, he's special, but it wasn't anything, amazing. You know what I mean? This is sounding really bad. Anyways, it sparked something in me, and he started kind of getting me into running. So he would go running and then suggest that I go run while I was at his place. And with encouragement and his support, it kind of started turning into a consistent thing without intention. I had no intention of running consistently. It just sort of evolved into this. And I'm going to say that was in January or February of 2018 that I started running with him. And I ran my first race in, I'm going to say May of that same year. Was it May or June of that same year? It was a half marathon. I don't remember what my training looks like. I probably have it written in my journal. But all I remember is that he ran this race with me. Did he run? Yeah. He ran that race with me and basically dragged me through the whole thing. I felt like crap the whole time. I wanted to vomit. I was just so nauseous, and I just remember complaining a lot. So anyways, he got me through the finish line, and it was the best half marathon time I'd ever have, obviously. And I had run at that point a few half marathons. Anyways, okay, this is a super long-winded story. Since then, I've been running consistently. I currently run, and I can't really remember the early days of what running consistently looked like. But right now I'm running 6 days a week, and last week I hit 100 kilometers a week. So that's what consistency is for me right now. I was training for the Boston Marathon, which I'll talk about in a second, but that's kind of on hold. So I'm just training. Now when I started running, when I met my coach, I was doing 10 kilometer runs once a week. And I remember it being this huge ordeal. I would strap on my camelback. I would drive out to the country, and I had this 10 kilometer loop that I would do. Now, granted, it had some hills in it, some pretty good hills. But at the same time, I can look back now and see how much I overthought it and how maybe dramatic I was about the whole thing. But I just remember wearing this camelback, and it was this big, huge thing. I'd have all this anxiety. I'd run the 10 kilometer loop. I'd come back home. I remember I would collapse in the grass as soon as I got home and just feel like I was going to die and need all day to recover. So that's kind of where I was at. I could still manage a 10 kilometer distance, but it was it was a struggle. And my pace around that time was about a 6-minute kilometer pace. So average, I guess you could say, but it definitely took a lot out of me. So I met my coach, and he's been training me since for about 2 years. And to summarize it, clearly I'm not good at summarizing, but to summarize it, from the time we began together, which was, January, February of 2018, to May of 2019, he took me from that. May is when I ran my first full marathon, which is something I said I would never, ever do. Who wants to train that much and run that long and just be feeling tortured the entire time, right? Who wants to do that? But somehow he got me falling in love with endurance and falling in love with the distance. So in just over a year's time, he got me to run my first marathon. And not only that, but at that first marathon, I qualified for the Boston Marathon. So I needed to have a qualifying time of 3 hours and 35 minutes. And my marathon time was 3 hours, 30 minutes, and 2 seconds. So it was this massive, massive accomplishment for me, which I never could have done without my coach. So that's kind of my history in running. A long-winded story to say I don't really have much history in running. And since that first marathon, I've run 2 more. So I ran another in October of last year, 2019. and November, 2 weeks after that one. And Boston was going to be next, but we'll see if Boston happens now in September. So as you can see, I am still quite new at this, but I have definitely learned a lot, and I have so much to share. And just a few weeks ago, one of my clients came up to me and said, Rachel, I want to start running. Where do I begin? I'm like, oh my God, I don't know. That's such a loaded question. I have no idea where to begin. I don't know. There's so many things and so few things. So I talked to my coach and asked him to give me some input on what he would tell this person. And I also included a couple things on my own. And I really wanted to share these things with you because, again, this is such a great time to start going outside and going for a run. You have your solitude, you're isolated. It's a good way to get your fitness on, fresh air and sunshine, which are all amazing for the immune system, right? And anything right now, you need to be extra cognizant of your immune system and taking care of your body and your health. So run, unless there's something going on in your body that prevents you from running, say some knee issues or hip issues that your medical practitioner has advised you absolutely can't run for whatever reason. Running is what our bodies were made to do. You look at children, they run. They don't walk anywhere. They run. My kids, even going through the house, they won't walk. They run. They just run. It's just in us to run. The problem is we overthink this so much. We hesitate to do something because we overthink it and just decide that it's just not worth it because it's too much to think about. And the thing about running that I love is the simplicity. There's so much simplicity in running. You just go run. It doesn't have to be complicated. We make it complicated. It can be complicated, but it doesn't have to be. You can just go with their run. So I would like to share with you my 7 and my coach's 7 tips for anybody looking to start running and not sure where to begin. So he has given me 4 of his advice, and I would like to give you 2. I'd like to give you 2, and I'm just going to expand a little bit after that. So number 1, start easy and build slowly a foundation. So I know a lot of people, they're like, Rachel, I can't run more than 30 seconds, which might be true, but more often than not, the reason you can't run more than 30 seconds is because you're going out there and sprinting. You're not slowing it down. You're not keeping an easy pace. When you are starting out, just like anything in life, I know it's super frustrating, and me, I am not a patient person. I don't like to wait for things, but you have to. So when you're doing this, when you begin, what you're doing is building a foundation, right? These slow runs, doing what you can. You don't need to hit a certain amount of kilometers. In fact, you shouldn't aim for a certain amount of kilometers because your body really needs to adapt to the pressures of running, to the impact on your joints, your ligaments, your tendons. They all have to strengthen and adapt before you can reach levels beyond where you're at right now. So that foundation is extremely important. Starting slowly, building a foundation. Don't worry about your paces. Don't worry about your distances. Just kind of getting out there and doing it. His second piece of advice, and I'm going in a different order than he gave me because it makes more sense. Second one is consistency. This is the biggest one, and I am 100% in alignment with his suggestion, his advice with this one. Consistency. The reason why people quit, the reason why people have injuries, the reason why people are always feeling like they're starting over and going through this cycle is because they lack consistency. Consistency. What does that mean? It means doing it every day. So wait, when you're starting out and building a foundation, you're not running every day, but you're moving somehow every day. I think it's really important. I mean, rest days, active rest days are what I believe in. So our bodies are made to move. They just need to move. So if you're not running, you're doing something else, swimming, cycling, weightlifting, walking, hiking, I don't care. But consistency is key. You can't spend 1 week running 5 days a week, and the next week running 1, and the next week running 6, and the next week not running at all. You're just not going to see results, and you're not going to build a solid, proper foundation that's going to support the rest of your training unless you have that consistency. So injuries and feeling like you're quitting all the time is because you're just not being consistent. Going out there, I'm not going to actually say that. I'm going to say that for future. Just doing it consistently. Whether you can devote 2 days a week to running, 3 days a week to running, whatever you're doing, try to be consistent. And that's, I mean, if you're injured, if you're sick, if somebody in your family has died and you have emergencies going on, I understand where the consistency might not be easy, but it's important, especially if you're looking to build that foundation. And you always want to think long term. Now, just because you want to go run, it doesn't mean you have to commit to running a marathon. It doesn't mean you have to commit to anything. But you also want to go into the mindset that you want this to be sustainable. You want this to be a sustainable lifestyle. You want your body to be able to hold up. You want your health to be able to hold up. Longevity is what you're looking for, and that should be your goal. Not speed, not distance, not outrunning the neighborhood kids. You want sustainability and longevity. Okay, so consistency is number 2. Number 3 is, which one do I want to do first? Let's go with recovery and nutrition are just as important as running. So again, this is my coach's, and this is something that he has drilled into me relentlessly, understandably so. People think running is running, and it is. But if you're going to have a consistent running schedule, a consistent fitness schedule with anything, you really, really, really need to prioritize these 2 things, recovery and nutrition. Nutrition, I mean, it goes without saying, what is nutrition? What you're putting into your body, whether that's food, whether that's hydration, and supplements. So what you put in your body, just like the gas in your car, you're not going to put in cheap gas that you buy from somebody random sitting on the corner of the street. You're going to go to a gas station and put in decent fuel, right? Because your car can only function on what you put in it. If you put in crap, your car is going to expend crap. Just like your body. If you put shit into your body, how do you expect it to work for you? It's not going to. You're going to get sick. You're going to get injured. You're going to be lethargic. You're not going to have the sustainability in your energy or wellness to move like maybe you want to move. So it's one thing I hear about all the time. That's something I'm going to be talking about often is energy. So what you put into your body is extremely important. You want to make sure you're hydrating, not just when you're running, but all through your day, all day, every day. You want to stay well hydrated. You want to make sure you're eating nutrient-dense foods, helping your body with that inflammation that happens when you run and you put your body under stress naturally. You want to fill your body with the important proper ratios of carbohydrates, fats, and proteins, right? They all have a purpose in your body, and you need to fill your body with all of them. You want to be eating on a regular schedule. None of this fasting, none of this specific dieting, none of this counting calories nonsense. You want to make sure you're fueling your body healthily so that you can sustain the workload that you're giving it. And again, you're sustaining longevity in your body for your health, not just for running, but for everyday life, right? And recovery. So what does recovery mean? This could be a twofold tip. But recovery is your nutrition, your hydration, as I've already said. It's also sleep. It's also managing your stress levels. It's making sure you're not on your feet all day, every day, that you're getting that relaxing time in. It's all about foam rolling, which is a massive, massive, massive component of running, in my opinion. It's all about stretching, those things. Recovery. What are you putting in your body as soon as you're done your run? What are you putting in your body during the day? How are you helping your muscles, ligaments, and tendons adapt? All those things. So recovery and nutrition. So we've got building a foundation, starting easy, and we've got consistency and recovery and nutrition. Okay, number 4, my coach is also, this is my coach's 4th one. He has suggested a strength training with exercises that are going to benefit and build upon your running. So what does that mean? We know a lot of runners who don't strength train at all. Your body needs that muscular endurance. It needs that muscular strength in order to handle the loads. Whether you're running hills, whether you're running distances, whether you're running quick, you need to call upon your muscle fibers to help you. And you can read conflicting information on this, but I believe, and he believes, that you really need to have a strong body to do what you need it to do for you. So that means strength training. I won't get into too much detail on what those movements are, but things like squats that are going to be assisting with your glutes, deadlifts, glutes, your hamstrings, your quads, your calves, all those types of exercises. Even your upper body, you need to have a nice, strong chest so that you can maintain an open posture while you're running and you're not slouching and rounding, opening up your diaphragm, opening up your upper body, and being a strong runner. So strength training to complement your running is also an important component. And if you're not sure, find a personal trainer, probably one who does online training since we can't go anywhere right now. But that's really important. And if you have any questions about that, just message me and I'm happy to respond or give you some specific ideas. Okay, the next two are coming from me specifically, because I have had specific questions on this, and I want to address this because I think there's some uncertainty or lack of clarity when it comes to this. So, footwear, oh boy, this is a big one. And I've kind of shifted my mindset on this one. I used to be all about going to specialty running stores and making sure you're properly fitted, orthotics, all those kinds of things. And without getting into too much detail and depth, I am going to say, make sure you find a running shoe that just feels good to you when you run. They shouldn't be giving you blisters. You shouldn't be feeling shin splints, although that can be a muscular weakness or imbalance as well. They should just feel good. They shouldn't be really heavy. They shouldn't be clunky. Again, there shouldn't be anything too tight on them. Maybe that's the way that you're lacing them up. Just make sure that they feel good. Now, I don't really have a brand that I recommend. We seem to be totally addicted to Nike, and unfortunately they're closed now, but we would go to the Nike outlet pretty much every couple weeks, and one of us would end up with a new pair of shoes. But I am just kind of learning to rotate my shoes. I get stuck on one shoe and I just love it, but I have this pair I have never even worn, but I have this exact same pair in two different other colors that I really love. I just haven't gotten to these ones yet. So we really love Nike. There's different ones, Pegasus, we really like. There's different shoes that I wear for racing. I just wore the Vomero 14s today. I can't name you all the shoes because this is something I really suck at, knowing what shoe is which. But anyways, going and trying on a pair of shoes and just making sure they're comfortable. And when you have these shoes, I've learned, and I think, that you should have running shoes and your plain old walking shoes. So I have the exact same shoe in the exact same color times two. I love them so much, they're just black. Because one pair I wear just for running and one pair I wear for every day, like walking and being out and stuff, because I pretty much only wear running shoes. So having shoes that are dedicated to running, but just making sure they're comfortable. You don't have to think too much about this one. You don't have to do a ton of research into running shoes, just making sure that they're shoes meant for running, the sport of running. And then experimenting with what feels good to you as you run. I used to wear Mizuno's. I know a lot of people that wear New Balance. So figuring out what brand you like and feels good to you and resonates with you. I mean, do the research if you want. There's a lot of great YouTubers that go into depth about each shoe. But I just kind of go with what feels good for me. And that's what I would suggest. Not thinking too much. You don't have to go and spend $200. Just finding something that feels good. Okay? And the last one that I want to give, and it's actually not something that I've really thought about, so I appreciate my clients who reach out to me, because you always give me such great ideas about what to talk about, and things that I wasn't even thinking about. So the last one I want to say is breathing. One of my clients said to me a few weeks ago, the one who said she wants to start running and wanted ideas on where to begin, she said, I was told to breathe in through my nose and out through my mouth. And I just want to say, don't. Just breathe. When you get a little bit more experience with running, the breathing thing becomes easier. But in the beginning, just breathe. Whether you want to breathe through your nose, whether you want to breathe through your mouth, whether you want to breathe through both, you do what feels, don't think about it. You just go out there and run, and don't think about what your breathing is like. Just make sure you're not hyperventilating. And make sure you're breathing, but trust me, as soon as your legs start turning over, your breath will come. So there is no great way of breathing. Now, having said all of that, there are so many other things to build upon. So this is for the new runner, we're all runners. This is for the person who wants to start running consistently, not sure where to begin. So I'm just going to sum up everything I just said and then add upon that, just throw some more at you. Start easy in building a foundation. Consistency is key. Strength training, no, this isn't the proper order, that's okay. Strength training to complement your running. Recovery and nutrition being super important. Footwear that's comfortable, and breathing how you need to breathe. It sounds like a lot, but it really isn't. Just lace up some comfy shoes and get outside and move. Don't try to outpace the neighborhood kid. Just go out and run at a slow pace. Pace doesn't matter. Now, having said that, if you get to a point where you've been running consistently and you're feeling pretty good, there are always places you can go from there. So there are some other really important things. Like, for example, if you're kind of where I was at, where you're starting to run more consistently and you think, I'm doing okay, maybe I can set a goal of, for me it was, I started with a half marathon, but maybe at some point I'd like to run a marathon. I really think it's important to respect running and respect the distances that you are running. And in doing so, it's also important to, in my opinion, find a coach or find someone who kind of knows what they're doing, someone who is a runner, ideally, and get some information from them. So there are ways you can improve your form to help you reduce your likelihood of injury. That is really important by doing things like strides at the end of runs, or doing things like drills at the beginning of your run or in the middle of your run. That will help your form become efficient. So you're a more efficient runner, you're utilizing your energy more efficiently, and your body mechanics work in a way that's, again, going to reduce your likelihood of injury. You can get a coach to help you create a plan so you can do less thinking. And again, it's all about efficiency. If there's anything I'm obsessed with in life, it's efficiency. Time efficiency, energy efficiency, that is absolutely something that is super, super, super important to me. So with a coach, I'm given my plan every day. We talk every day, and he tells me what I'm going to do. So I don't have to figure it out for myself. I can get out there and do it. And I know with his experience and his knowledge that the drills and the distances and the paces and the workouts he gives me are the most efficient way to get me to my goal. So rather than me being all willy-nilly and just saying, I'm going to run this, I'm going to run this, I don't really know what I'm doing, which is fine. But if you have goals as you progress that start to get a little bit bigger and a little bit more scary, it's a great idea to hire a coach to help get you there, because again, they know efficiency. They know how to get you from A to B in the best, healthiest manner. And it's not about how quickly you can get there, of course. But again, so you're not wasting energy, you're not wasting resources, and you're making sure you get there in a healthy, sustainable manner. Now, in the beginning, you don't have to worry about fancy gadgets. You don't need any fancy watches or fancy shoes or fancy camelbacks, anything weird like that. But as you go, those things might, not the fanciness isn't important, but things like a Garmin, a watch to help you track your paces and your distances might become important. But those are things in the future. You don't have to worry about that right now. The most important thing is that you get out there and just run. So I apologize for all those tangents. I'm super passionate about this. And it really is exciting to me when people come to me looking for advice on how and where to start running. So I hope you found that helpful. There's nothing incredibly amazing, no secrets, no quick fixes to get you there. It's just literally a matter of finding comfortable shoes and heading out the door, and then doing it again, and then again. That's it. It's pretty simple, right? So let me know if you get out there and how it goes. All right. Thanks, guys.